Welcome everyone to the What's Happening podcast, where this season we're interviewing GPT creators. What's Happening is brought to you by 3 Advance, the development team for startups. I'm your host, Rafael Testai, my co-host, Paul Murphy, the CEO of 3 Advance, and our very special guest, Julie Helmer, who's done a GPT for diabetes. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Of course, we're so happy to have you. So, Paul, tell us, why do you think Julie was a great guest for this show?
So, Julie, the thing that excites me about what you're doing is obviously, you're using the power of AI, but you're using it for good. And I think it's coming from personal experience. And also it's like, from what I've toyed around on my own little experiments, I can see the value. And I'm really looking forward to hearing, both your background as well as, how the GPT is helping you and people around you at the moment. This is why we love AI. This is why we get excited about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started about a year ago, kind of understanding GPT in today's world. And when they rolled out being able to build a GPT, I thought, what would be a good one for me to build? Well, after realizing I have 42 years of experience living with a type 1 diabetic, and how challenging it can be for people to get the correct information about little things that maybe your doctor didn't tell you, or you don't know because it's through experience that you learn things with this disease. I thought, why not build a diabetic resource, lifestyle resource GPT? So that's what I did, and it's actually been very helpful. And it will delve into topics that you wouldn't even believe could have thought, and the answers are just blow me away, honestly. After knowing some of the things I've experienced and know, it's just like, wow, this is doing a wonderful job for people.
That's beautiful. 41 years of experience. That makes you a subject matter expert. It's me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a very debilitating disease, and it's a frustrating one because you don't always know what's going to happen. It's not a perfect science by any means as a type 1. And my husband happens to be what they consider a brittle diabetic, which means what might work day 1 might not work the same way day 2, even given the exact same circumstances. So that's helped me to be really fine-tuned and aware of, I can basically look at him and tell him what his blood sugar is. Just because I've had so much experience learning the signs and knowing the little, detail. So it's been quite a journey, but it's one I love educating people about health and wellness. I've been involved in that industry for several years, and this is an important topic, and there's becoming more and more diabetics in the world, type 1 and type 2. And I think it's a challenge for them to get the information that they need to be able to live, a somewhat healthy lifestyle on a day-to-day basis. So I'm hoping that this GPT can help them navigate, that situation and give them some answers that they might not readily get somewhere else.
So Julie, let me ask you about, the inspiration behind it. What was the spark? When did you suddenly realize this could actually help me? This could actually, help someone in my life? Were you searching for an idea that it was something that you could use ChatGPT for, or what was what happened? What was the thing that really sparked that? Hey, we've got something here, and I can make a difference.
Well, I'd actually already created a couple of other GPTs. I've been involved in the hemp CBD industry for several years in various capacities, mostly operations and COO positions, and so I created a terpene tutor. It's called Terpene Tutor, about terpene profiles and what they do in the human body. And then I also created one that I call CBD Creative Writer. So I was doing content creation for CBD companies, and it really, I decided to start with those two, with topics that I knew a lot about as well. So I created the CBD Creative Writer for myself that I didn't really make public until recently, because it would give me ideas on content creation and give me some topics that maybe I wouldn't have thought about myself. So I started out with those two, and then I thought, well, what else do I know a lot about? Because my whole key is education for people, and it was like I just woke up one day and went, duh, how about diabetes? Because I know a lot about that. So I thought, okay, well, I originally created a chat bot for diabetes on a different platform. And then when they rolled out the GPTs, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it on the GPTs platform and see how it differs. So the thing I liked about that is the chat bot I built was based on the knowledge that I trained it with and came from multiple different websites and documents and studies and all that. But the GPT I liked about that was it included all that without me having to drag it all in there and, research it and all that. So this was a much quicker process, and it's quite, it incorporates topics that I wouldn't have dreamed. So it's been very beneficial for me, and it's just been fun to play with to see if I can type something in there that I know about that maybe a lot of people don't know about, just with my, experience. And it's had the answers, and I've just been blown away by it.
Julie, I have to ask you, could you clarify the acronym CBD? What does it stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's, it's in the cannabis industry. So CBD is actually one of many cannabinoids found in the cannabis plant. It's a non-psychoactive compound. And so in the United States, we have kind of two different sides of the cannabis industry. One is the psychoactive side, and one is the non-psychoactive side. And in my experience, I was involved in the non-psychoactive side, which is the hemp CBD, because the plant has less than 0.3% delta-9 THC, and that's how it's categorized as hemp. So that's what CBD, it stands for cannabidiol, and it's one of 124 known cannabinoids that work on our endocannabinoid system in our bodies. So that's something that everything that has a vertebrae has in their body is an endocannabinoid system.
And so Julie, so you've seen the world change, even I guess in the cannabis space over the last 10 or 15 years, maybe longer. Are there any lessons that you're bringing from that world, and you're an entrepreneur in that space? Is there any similarities to what's happening right now in the AI space? Is there anything you're bringing from that world into this new environment?
Oh, absolutely. You can go on to the GPT store, and there's been many, many people who have created GPTs around the cannabis industry. And, it's been kind of a not well-regulated industry. They're just changing the Farm Bill this month, and they're talking about reclassifying it as a Schedule 3 instead of a 1. So there's a lot of back and forth between the hemp people and the cannabis people. Again, the only difference being the amount of THC in the plant. And it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. AI has really, I think, I just started my own chatbot business, and I'm creating chatbots for customer service for websites. And the CBD industry is ripe for that because there's so much information a person needs to know. It's not an easy industry to understand. And if you're a new consumer out there searching for a good CBD product, you don't even know what you don't know. So you don't know the right questions to ask. So the chatbot can be completely trained on all of that information. And customer jumps on your website and says, hey, what's the best product? Here's what I'm looking for. And at least you can give them some information about serving size or what cannabinoid might work best for what they're hoping to accomplish. So AI is really, I think, going to change that whole picture. It's helping in so many different ways, and it doesn't matter really what the business is because it can help enhance customer service. There's so many use cases for AI, for HR departments and different things, for people to use it just for educational purposes for their employees, for their customer service people, for their sales people. So I think AI is just going to enhance really any industry that will embrace it. And it has been kind of a hard pitch so far just because I think people don't understand it. And so my hope is to help educate people about that, because they think because they have a plug-in chatbot on their website that's the same thing as a custom trained chatbot, and it's not anywhere close, because it can't answer the questions. It hasn't been trained on your business. It's strictly a lead collection form for the name and their email address, and then it says we'll get back to you later. That to me is not really a chatbot.
Right on. I feel like at the moment as well, there's a lot of people think, AI is coming along and ChatGPT's here, so now all I need to do is plug this chatbot in and everything will be golden. And saying that's not the case. And every implementation of AI and a chatbot is going to be different. It's going to be dependent on what data is being consumed, what data is allowed to be consumed, how it's being communicated. And even a chatbot, it's like we're still typing now, which a chatbot then potentially becomes a voice interaction, whether it's online, whether it's, by phone, whatever else. But it goes way, way deeper. Like, we're scratching the surface in our world with, vector databases and RAG, and really getting far deeper than some of the, scratching the surface ideas and things that people played with just from their experience on ChatGPT, which again is a fantastic place to start, right? That's probably, how a lot of people are getting into this world, and a lot of entrepreneurs are popping up is from playing around on the GPT store, but it's just the beginning.
It is, for sure. I totally agree. Even in the last year, since I started and I got certified in ChatGPT, it's changed so much since then. I go back now and look at the lessons and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're so much further ahead in 1 year. It's just mind blowing.
Have you played around much with GPT 4.0 and has it improved?
I have. And my chatbots are actually using that platform, and I'm already seeing differences in what it can do, where it's incorporating photos from a website that it's been trained on, whereas before it wouldn't pull in a photo of a product image or whatever. And now it's doing all of that. And soon they'll have the voice activation ready. I know they've already rolled it out for some of the paid users. I'm a paid user, but I haven't seen it yet. But we will be able to talk to it. You'll be able to talk to it here pretty shortly. And that gets huge.
Yeah, mine appeared a couple of days ago, and I've already been playing around. It's like night and day, Yeah. It's a whole different ball game when it feels like a real conversation. It's staggering. And to your point, it's even, one of my family members had a medical issue, and I know, and I'm not advocating replacing a doctor or trusting everything that's there, but it's a great place to start. And it's incredible how empathetic the experience is. And that's important, especially talking about things like a health concern that people have difficulty with. And even that in itself sets you up for a better conversation with a doctor.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It kind of educates you, and at least lets you know the questions you should be asking, the professionals. So yeah, very helpful in many, many ways.
Totally.
All right, value listeners, this is a quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by 3Advance, the AI development team for startups, and we help AI founders bring their ideas to life. You can schedule a free consultation in the show notes link below. And carrying on with our conversation with Julie, the founder of a GPT for diabetics, I am particularly curious about how the GPT that you created, Julie, bridges the gap between going to the doctor's office, what the doctor tells you, and what you actually need to be successful in managing this condition. So how does that GPT that you created bridge that gap?
Well, one thing is, there's things that come up in your life on a daily basis that your doctor may not have the answer for. For instance, my husband and I have always been very healthy. We eat right, we exercise. And we've noticed over the years, there's some things that affect the blood sugar. So for instance, if you get on a rebounder, and a diabetic gets on a rebounder, which is just a small trampoline, it helps drain your lymphatic system. It's a very healthy exercise. So we had a rebounder, and every time my husband would get on it, he'd get low blood sugar. And it was like without fail. And I was like, that is so weird. So I went, and when I created the Diabetic Lifestyle Resource Bot, I asked it the question, if I'm a type 1 diabetic and I get on a rebounder, what can I expect? And it actually knew the answer. And I was like, wow, and it's just, there's some things that your doctor's not going to know because he's not living your life with you every day in your house, and he doesn't know the things that you go through. He can know the medical side of things, but everybody's body is different and everybody reacts differently. Obviously, some things in diabetes are the same with everybody, but then there's other things that, it depends on how healthy you are to start with. If you have other issues in your life that you deal with as far as health, so it's going to be difficult to go to a doctor and ask him a question like, well, what if I do this? What's going to happen? He may not know the answer. Whereas the Diabetic Lifestyle Resource Bot is going to tap into all that knowledge base that's out there that doctor can't possibly have in his head. So he might know a lot of things that have to do with the medical side of things and the insulin and the CGMs, which is the continuous glucose monitors. I mean, you can even ask the diabetic lifestyle resource thought about, what's a good CGM to use? Different things. What's glycemic index mean? What's a good recipe for a low glycemic, lunch? You can go in there and, the doctor's not going to have time, number one, to sit down and give you recipes or teach you about the glycemic index necessarily. So, and these GPTs have given people the opportunity to learn things because, like I said, the doctor can't possibly know every answer to every question you're going to bring to him. So this is going to help you use this resource on a daily basis where you can just tap into it from your phone or your internet. You might have a quick question that you might want to, learn about without having to go to the doctor's office, pay for a visit, take up his time, which is valuable, obviously, and get the answers that you need pretty quickly. So,
yeah, I think it's underrated to understand that, like, that 8 or 12 minutes you might have with a doctor, you have this limited window to cover everything you might want to cover, while the GPT allows you to do it at your own pace. Think about it, come back. If something pops up in the moment, you can address it. And also, I'd say something else that's underrated is the mental health aspect of it. The how to deal with something in the moment of something, like every physical condition has 1,000 strands that could possibly knock off from a mental wellness perspective as well. That just doesn't, that doesn't fit into that 12-minute window or whatever that a doctor has with you to deduce your problem. It's just not there. So there's that empathy and that, that added sort of like benefit of a wellness side of things as well.
Yeah, because the mental health part of diabetes is, something that's probably not as addressed as much as like the healthy lifestyle, the eating, the exercise. It can get very depressing at times because it's a difficult disease to manage. So, the lifestyle resource bot, you can basically, ask it things about, well, how come I seem to be more depressed if my blood sugar's in the 40s? If my glucose is showing on my meter that I'm 45, my blood sugar's 45, and I seem to get more confused or depressed at that. It can help answer those questions for you. You're not going to have time to run to your doctor every time something happens like that and ask him the question. Yeah, he probably has the answer to that, but this way it'll just be something that you can just tap into right away and understand it a little bit better and then learn how to manage.
So many thoughts going through my head as I hear you speak. For instance, I think about daydreaming about the future of healthcare. Imagine only having the 10 minutes that Paul mentioned, because we've all been there. You only have 10 minutes. You want to cram all the questions in. You're going to forget something important. But then what if the doctor said, look, I made this AI agent for people who have a condition, and you can talk to it when you get home, and it's been vetted by me. It goes to the right resources. Wouldn't that give us so much peace of mind, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that would be huge. And the fact that you're going to get your doctor's approval on it is going to help people who have the stigma of, AI can't be trusted, or it's not safe, or it doesn't have the right answers. If your doctor says, hey, I've got this resource for you to use from home that can answer pretty much all your questions, I think people would jump on board and go, wow, this is great. I mean, it's helpful for sure.
Now, that's the next step. The doctor's approval. So as we all know, we thought about, it's going to be very difficult to get that. So I wanted to ask you, what kind of guardrails have you put in the GPT that you created to ensure that it provides the accurate information?
Well, part of it is just the testing it out and looking at its answers. As far as the guardrails go, it's pulling from whatever information is out there already. Some of it may be biased, some of it may be censored, because we're finding that these LLMs are not, it's not open source. So it's only going to be as good as the data it was trained. Will it hallucinate? Maybe. So far, I haven't found it to do that, but that doesn't mean, there should always be a disclaimer. Basically, it's provided this information for you. It may be accurate, but it may be not accurate. So you need to do your own research. But the fact that it just pulls from so many data sources that have been vetted, they've been sourced and vetted by these big companies that have spent, billions on AI. So, it's going to be better than just, I think, going on Google and typing a question, and just say, hey, because number one, Google doesn't work that way. I know that they're working on it to work that way, but right now it doesn't. Whereas the LLMs that these GPTs have been built on, that information is out there. That information is, I would say, pretty accurate. You can never say anything's 100% because it's not. But you just have to go into it with an open mind to go, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to get my answer. I can do a little bit more research to make sure that that's accurate, or you're going to just know, depending on whatever the question is. It's easy to go online and look up the GI, index and find out what fruits are low glycemic. That's easy to do. So if you get on the GPT and you say, give me a list of fruits that are low glycemic that are going to be safe for me to eat in my diabetic, lifestyle for my diabetic meals. And you can go on and look up gi.com and you're going to see the same thing. So you can prove it out that way by doing your own research that way. As far as the guardrails go on the diabetic lifestyle GPT that I built, honestly, I didn't put any guardrails in the it's pulling from the data that's already available online. So it's as accurate as whatever you're going to find online is, basically.
Julie, it feels like you have a chatbot business as well. But with regards to your GPT, do you plan on monetizing that? Do you plan on bringing it outside of the GPT store? Is there obviously if it was moving towards like a B2B play where you were integrating with a healthcare provider, there would be the needs to go deeper in different areas. What's the future hold? What do you look towards? What is the future of your GPT and your business?
Well, my GPT, my chatbot business is AI Chat Advisor. And basically, that is going to be custom built chatbot for whatever use case they need, whether it's internal to educate their employees or onboarding for employees or, live customer service, or not live, but it's 24/7, 365. And it's going to be custom trained on any data that they want trained on. So it's going to be very accurate. As far as the GPTs and monetizing them, when I first created the diabetic lifestyle one, I didn't make it public until just last week because, it's a big topic and it's an important topic and it's one that you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to give some information to somebody if it's not real or accurate, especially with a disease, any kind of a disease, whether it's diabetes or something else. But on the other hand, I thought, I went on there and did a search and I just typed in the word diabetic in the GPTs and there was so many of them. I was blown away, but they were mostly for recipes or workout guides for diabetics. I didn't really see one that was incorporating, a lifestyle resource for questions about everything from CGMs to, diet, to exercise, to sexual health. Obviously, diabetes affects your sexual health. So, those are questions people don't really ask. They don't really talk about that. I actually posted on LinkedIn this morning about, how diabetes affect your sexual health. And so those are questions you can ask the GPT. And, as far as monetizing it, though, I haven't really thought about it too much. If a company came to me and said, I would like to use this, I would have them test it out thoroughly and make sure, they knew that they were getting. And then I would be open to providing that to them for use with their patient. Because I think it's important, and it can be on the GPT store, but it's going to be buried under the other million that have been created. So how do you get it out there? How do you let people know it's out there? It's just like a website. Unless you have SEO on your site, you have it out there, but nobody knows it's there. So it's the same with the GPTs. There's so many in there. It'd be difficult to find unless you can, push it out there yourself to people that follow you on LinkedIn or whatever, which I've already done. So I'm hoping people will get on there and use it and give me some feedback. So
if I understand correctly, you actually make a living right now from installing chatbots on websites. Is that right?
I just started the business a couple of weeks ago. So yes, it's just ramping up. I'm now doing some marketing for it. Got the platform all built. I have my website up. Everything is ready to go. So I've already built a couple of demos for a couple of people, a couple of businesses. So yes. And it's exciting and I actually really enjoy it. So it's a fun thing.
This this reminds me of the time when the internet first came out and there were people going to brick and mortar stores and helping business owners get online. And I think there's going to be a wave of people that provide this much needed service of getting people the chatbots that they need. So congratulations on being one of the first ones, Julie.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm sure there's others out there, but like I said, all chatbots are not the same. And part of my job is to educate those out there to show them the difference.
Well, we will make sure to link to that website as well as obviously your GPT. We'll hopefully try to get the word out there. I think all of us know someone who's suffering from diabetes, be it 1 or 2, and there's certainly an audience. And I think that GPT Store is interesting as well for validation of some of these concepts of what works, what doesn't work. And it'll be interesting to see how yours grows now that you've released it, and what value you'll find. And then obviously getting feedback and iterating and improving it will be super important too.
Yep, for sure.
So I happen to have a prompt idea that can alleviate some of the concerns users may have when using the Diabetic GPT, which is, what about including a prompt in the code that says, list the source where the advice is coming from at the end of every piece of advice or sentence? What do you think about that?
That's great, and I can definitely do that. That's great. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, one of my missions in life, like my main mission, is just to help people. I don't care who gets the credit. I want less suffering in the world. So I think your GPT can really help with that. So as we come towards the end of the podcast, I wanted to kind of flip the script and give you the platform to ask us any question you wanted to ask.
Oh, wow. I guess, where do you guys see this going in the near future? AGI is something they've been talking about. I personally don't see that happening anytime soon. They already talk about it like it's out there, but I don't think they understand what that really means. And then you have ASI after that, which, we may not be on the planet when that happens. But what are your thoughts on AGI, and how soon do you think we'll actually see that taking place in the world?
Yeah, I hear you as well. We were saying about what is true AGI, and I don't know the answer to that, and sometimes skeptical, but oftentimes it actually flips me to look at the opposite. It's not like, hey, how smart is AI? It's more, well, how smart are humans? Because we put a hell of a lot of credence on what people say, be it in our personal lives or professionals. And I think what AI sometimes does for me when I, play around from ChatGPT to any of the other Gemini or anything else, and I'll give you a sort of like, there's an example I used a little while ago. Raph and I were talking. It was like, we used some text to speech to do voice cloning and produce it was an experiment, but we created a podcast on the fly, and it sounded a little robotic. It wasn't quite right. It felt a bit just off, but what it highlighted for me was how stereotypical and how repetitive a lot of things are out there already. Like, people are not being as creative as they could be, and people are just replicating. And people are just rhyming off facts like they're real. So it's highlighting for me, not just, how smart AI is, but how presumptuous and not smart us humans tend to be. So right. I think there's something there that sort of like is, we are going to use AI, whether it's through AGI or not. We're going to rely on it more and more because it is more reliable than us humans. And it's an unfortunate fact, but hopefully it makes us become smarter. I think kids growing up today are a lot more cynical about scams and the internet and everything else. These things that have come out that have threatened us have also made us smarter and more aware. So I'm hoping that's the general trend too.
Yeah. Yep. And as Raphael said, it's the guardrails that are important. We've got to pay attention to the fact that, it does hallucinate. They know that's an issue. They're trying to correct it, and it's getting better. It's getting so much better than it was even just a few months ago. And that, I guess, is the main thing, is how quickly this is changing from day to day. I moderate a Chat GPT community on the school platform, and we have it's the Chat GPT users. It's the one, I believe you reached out to me, Raphael, on that, found me on that. But as a moderator, I've seen even in the last year how quickly this has changed. And people will ask questions today that, we knew the answers a year ago, but still brand new. It's like CBD. People don't know what CBD is. It's been around for several years now, and so many people use it, but you can still walk up to most people on the street and ask them what CBD is, and they have no idea. Well, it's kind of the same way with AI. It's like, do you know what GPT is? Do you know how to use AI? And then, oh, it's a rope. They don't get it. And we're so young in the educational part of this, and it's just going to keep getting better as time goes on, as long as they protect the data, put the guardrails there, keep it safe. That's the whole key.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up, I want to tell a cool story to the audience. I did reach out to Julie on the school communities with a K, link in the description below, and that's how we connected. But Julie was very proactive about being a guest in the show. She actually went to our YouTube channel. She left a little comment in one of our videos. So we want to hear from you, the audience, the GPT creators out there. Engage with us in the comments. Let us know if you want to feature as a guest. We have a little link. You can file a submission that we can review and invite you on the podcast. And Julie, any last words before we end the podcast?
Happy prompting. Learn how to prompt. That's the key. Like Paul said, you can do the same thing over and over, but it's all about the prompting. Learn how to create, the 6 components of a prompt, and you'll be amazed about how much better your outputs will be.
All right, fabulous. Well, logging out here, this is Rafael Testa, your host, Paul Murphy, co-host and the CEO of 3 Advance, and Julie, the creator of the GPT for diabetics. Thank you for staying to the very end. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a little 5-star review on your favorite platform that you listen to, we really appreciate the support. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for having me.